Hello, we're Kurt and Carolyn Johnson, and we are owners of Kurt Johnson Photography. Thank you for taking a few minutes to view our presentation, or what we like to call our book of work. To begin with, I have a few points that I'd like to make about what differentiates us from a lot of other photography companies. Well, I got 40 years of experience starting as a photojournalist and then later an architectural photographer. Carolyn and I started this endeavor about 20 years ago, and we're primarily healthcare centric, but we work in other markets as well. We're also a custom photography business, not just a stock house. We travel all around the country all the time to shoot beautiful indigenous landscapes and botanical imagery. We also have a relationship with Koroseal Interior Products, and they do fantastic printing and they have varieties of beautiful substrates. Okay, let's get started.
Hi, it's Carolyn. So we begin every presentation with this question. What style of nature imagery is it that you're looking for? So what is your vision? What is your design intent? Or maybe your creative aesthetic? Is it contemporary? This shows some work that Kurt has done recently where his depth of field is very, very narrow. And he's having you focus on what he wants you to focus on. This is what he's pretty well known for throughout the country. But there's also so much beautiful traditional work. And if this is what's going to resonate with your patients or your residents, then we use traditional all day long. And then there's kind of that in-between that we call transitional. It's not quite as edgy as contemporary, and it's not quite as safe, if you will, as traditional work. And beyond that, landscapes. So biophilic research tells us that humans possess an innate tendency to seek connections with nature. So basically, humans need nature. Well, here at KJP, we say humans are nature. That's why being in nature or viewing serene nature images produces such positive, relaxing effects. This research is further supported by evidence-based design, which emphasizes credible research to base decisions about the built environment and influence design. So we can send you studies regarding the use of nature imagery, but basically the research recommends following these guidelines to help reduce stress and anxiety, lower blood pressure, promote restoration. So we use a lot of this work in healthcare, but who doesn't want to feel better when you walk into a bank? So you've already seen flowers and verdant foliage. But in addition to that, waterscapes with calm or slowly moving water. Trees with broad canopies. Landscapes with park-like or savanna-like properties and openness. And landscapes with meaningful architecture. The image on the left was shot here in Nebraska, and that has been used dozens and dozens and dozens of times. It's so iconic for the Midwest. But in the upper right-hand corner, this was a horse farm in Kentucky that we stayed at. So that's been used in that portion of the world. And then down below, the deep south.
Basically, these are man-made structures that are, touchstones to the community, something have been around forever and people see in their everyday travels.
This page is to point out that the whole library is hundreds of thousands of images strong, and these images have been taken over the years throughout the entire country and beyond.
Actually, my favorite saying is happiness is Omaha in my rearview mirror.
So the next chapter, textures. We try to include images that are current, that are being sought after right now. And I tell you, every third phone call is requesting textures. So whether it's an agate or wood bark like this, Kurt is shooting all the time, either outdoors, as these images will show you, or in the studio. He will bring things in and photograph just what is interesting and textural and very cool.
So these are images here. We call these interpretations. So what we do is we take our photography, our photorealism, and we'll apply filters, we'll change colors. We get requests a lot from designers asking, hey, can you match this Pantone? Can you match this Sherwin-Williams, whatever? So what we do, and a lot of these are pretty simple software programs that we have. This one here, somebody liked the dandelion, but they wanted a different color. They wanted it kind of funky and different. So we reversed it. We put the color that matched their palette, and we put some texture to it. So what we're trying to do is open everybody up to thinking, hey, if we come up with a different idea, yeah, we'll do that. We can try to find a way to make that happen.
This next product is called Slices. This is something we developed about 10 years ago in response to the question, hey, Kurt, can one of your images stretch 50 feet or so?
Not yet.
Not
We're
yet.
working on it.
But give us your design intent. Give us your color palette. We can go to work and create these custom slices. They can be bold. They can be soft. They can follow whatever vision you have for your project. And we often use our slices as wayfinding and beyond.
This is something that we've been working on for the last year or two. And what we're doing is we're taking our photorealism, our photographic imagery, and we're converting those to vector files or EPS files. So for those of you who are not familiar with those are infinitely scalable. So they're basically graphic applications that can be stretched 50, 60, 100 feet without losing any integrity.
This project is actually in production right now at the Line of Health Abbott Clinic. These are their oncology clinics in Minnesota. So each one of these slices is actually an individual piece, about 2 feet wide by 10 feet high, to be used both for wayfinding as well as inside exam rooms and such.
So what we're trying to do with this is we're trying to take two approaches to this. The second one from the left, they're orange petals. And you can see that's a very graphic, blocky, primitive look. And that's what we're going after. So that's a little bit more bold. Third one from the left is pheasant feathers. And what we've done is added a lot more layers to that to make it look more photorealistic.
So these styles are more simplistic, but they're kind of moving into what we're calling a hand-drawn vector. And this next page is an actual project that we did with one of our brilliant co-workers. This is Mayo Clinic St. Mary's Pediatric Surgery Center in Rochester, Minnesota. So they came to us requesting images of the biomes of Minnesota, which of course we started with lakes, being the land of 10,000 lakes, but we also included birch trees, which are real important to Minnesotans, as well as wetlands and some of their grasses and agriculture shots. What they asked for was for us to work within a pediatric sensibility and bring more of a childlike or playful look to our imagery.
So what we did is we took our imagery, we started with that, and we developed a bit of a folk art type of look from what we have already photographed. And we matched the color palettes of some of the flooring, the orange, the purple, and the yellow. So we presented that, and they said, keep going. So the next step was, all right, we want to add birds, we want to add leaves, we want to add more trees, grasses, so clouds. So all those were originated with our original photography.
And what we developed was a 136-foot corridor graphic mural, as you can see in that middle image there. Then this is the approved elevation, and the final image is the rendering of the final design solution shown at the public corridor. Fabulous project. On to the actual installation images. So we're going to start with the framed art, canvas wrapped, fine art side of our business and help you understand that we do art placement and consulting for our work. So if you want us to help you with trying to determine where art should go, so we can take your floor plans and work with you to determine budget, or we can recommend where art could go and see, help you develop a budget that way, and hopefully take some of this work off of your plate. Again, we work with a fantastic framer who passes along his wholesale pricing to us, so we can be very competitive. We have access to all sorts of framing, frame styles, print styles, canvas wraps, you name it.
And this is a final product for our installer. He takes this floor plan, and everything is laid out, everything is in its place. And this also is a great checkpoint for the end user to be able to say, yeah, this is going to work. Oh, wait a minute, they changed this, so we need to move it here or there. So this is kind of our finished checklist.
It's our roadmap. So let's go through some installations. So this is a project that we did in Rapid City, South Dakota. This was orthopedic medicine. And we coordinated not only the artwork that was framed in canvas wrap, but we also brought in a glass provider to make sure that the patient boards within every patient room had a continuous look with the artwork throughout the entire facility. Alina Health Centennial Lakes Clinic, we worked with dirt and their willow glass, as well as our own canvas wrap pieces and framed art in every patient and exam room. Then on to our larger substrate projects. This was the first of 3 mother babies that we did in Minnesota. This was the Mother Baby Center at Abbott Northwestern and Children's. And what the designers solved for here was at-risk moms were in a completely separate building than the at-risk babies. So this was a beautiful alignment of 2 completely different medical centers coming together to create this facility where these moms and babies could be together. This first of 3 utilized large-scale graphic flowers for their themes. And you can see that they ran these images up and down the corridors in this very unique style that actually became part of a branding campaign for them. You stand in one spot in this corridor and that entire image of Kurt's unfolds for you. In fact, this first project utilized 10,000 square feet of Kurt Johnson photography imagery.
And that image on the left, the purple flowers there, that was backlit acrylic panels. Everything else was vinyl wall covering, type 2 vinyl wall covering.
So that led us to our second Mother Baby, which was the Mother Baby Center at Mercy with Children's in Coon Rapids, Minnesota. The theme changed drastically because Coon Rapids is right on the Mississippi River, so they moved into that calm water theme. But again, broke down these large murals into slices down the corridors. We worked with the floor plans and the elevations to develop these. And that's how that turned out. They also utilized some of our imagery in the subwaits and the patient rooms. The third Mother Baby was United Mother Baby Center at United's and Children's in St. Paul. And the theme changed once again to the large, beautiful gardens. So we utilized spring flowering trees throughout these hallways and floors. It was a beautiful installation. We've done several film on glass projects. This one was Green Plains Renewable Energy in Omaha. And this is a ethanol producer who the company realized that once they moved into their brand new building, they had an 80-foot boardroom in clear glass, and they turned into a real fishbowl with no privacy. So what can you do with photographers in Omaha, Nebraska with cornfields?
Yeah, fortunately, I had to go maybe a mile or 2 from my domicile to find some cornfields. And what the designer had in mind was that we would take these imagery, we'd stitch it together, and we would reverse it and put just a little bit of a sepia feel to it. And it turned out, it looked just like etched glass. It was absolutely beautiful.
This is a project that we did with Midwest Fetal Care. And what was solved for here is behind that window was a ugly old alleyway. So the art really served 2 purposes there.
And the grass that was on the window there, that was green originally, and we matched the designer's color palette.
Behavioral health. This is Fulton State Psychiatric Hospital. We did wall protection as well as vinyl wall covering. Garage doors. It's kind of a new specialty for us. Kaiser Permanente in San Ramon, California, asked us to provide slices on a 50-foot garage door as well as one more panel on a 10-foot wide garage door. And these are lockdown garage doors in their pharmacies.
Everybody asks us, how'd they do that? Well, that's way, way above our pay grade. Whoever did it, it was magic.
The installation.
And we want to corner the market on garage doors. So if anybody's interested, we're the ones.
Yeah, give us a call. So we'll wrap this up with Lexington Regional Health Center. This was a great project in several phases, but one of our favorite phases was when they came to us and said, we've got 22 new patient rooms. Why don't you come up with 11 different nature-based designs, and we'll use each design twice. So number 1 corresponds with the acrylic head walls that we did. Number 2 corresponds with the glass communication boards. And each room had custom framed art as well. And here's how that install turned out. Kurt's got a funny story about this.
We were taking the install pictures, and this really beautiful young lady walked up to me and said, "Are you Kurt Johnson?" And I said, "Well, maybe." And she just gave me this huge hug. And I thought that was a pretty good way to start the day. And she said, "My name is Nicole and I'm the director of nursing." And she said, "When we first started talking about this project, I was dead set against artwork because I felt that all the money should go to equipment, it should go to training, it should go to hiring more nurses, everything to further the patient outcome." And she said, after all this stuff was installed, I walked into one of those rooms and she said, I stood there for a minute and she said, I understood it. I got it. I understood how important art was in this facility and how that's going to help the patients. And there was not a dry eye in the house. So that's why we do this. That was probably one of the most meaningful experiences I've ever had in this crazy business of photography. It was fabulous.
So we thank you for your time.
Thank you.